Great to meet you here in this virtual recorded capacity, and I'm excited to talk to you about my research.
So, Dr. Isla is in Edinburgh right now. So, the first question I would like to ask Dr. Isla is, what is the most crucial and impressive findings in your greening of Arctic tundra research, and how does it inspire the people, inspire the humanity?
I'm a global change ecologist, so I study how climate change is impacting ecosystems around the world, but particularly in the Arctic, so in the northern reaches of our planet. And one of the things I'm finding with my research is that the Arctic is warming, and now we say it's even warming maybe up to 4 times as fast as the rest of the planet. So it's really warming a lot more quickly and more than other places around the planet. And that's having impacts on those ecosystems. And so what we're seeing from space, from satellite imagery, is that the Arctic is getting greener. And we think some of that signal is due to changes happening down on the ground. So that's a lot of what my research is about getting down into those tundra ecosystems and figuring out what's really happening. And what we're finding is that the plants are increasing more. So where there used to be just bare ground, brown soil, now there's more plants, and certain plants are increasing. And the ones in particular that I study that are sort of changing the most are shrubs. These shrubs can grow more each year, and they're becoming taller, and they're also expanding across those landscapes. And as the vegetation changes like that, as the plants change, it's changing the habitats for wildlife. So it's influencing species like caribou and reindeer that you might have heard of. And then ultimately it's influencing the lives of people in the Arctic too. So what's happening in the Arctic is really important for all of us because it will have global impacts. You can imagine the Arctic as kind of a freezer for the planet. Yeah. So it's where the planet stores a lot of its carbon frozen in the permafrost. And with climate change, it's kind of like we've opened the door to that freezer. And so things are starting to thaw. And as a society and as a planet, we have to figure out a way to close that door again. So it's going to be small decisions and changes that we make to each of our lives, all the way up to big decisions that governments and international organizations have to decide upon in terms of reducing the carbon that we're putting up into the atmosphere to slow down the warming of the planet as a whole, to keep that door closed on the permafrost freezer of the Arctic. So I feel very honored to get support from both National Geographic and Epson to support my research and the research of my team. And it allows us that funding to get out to these Arctic ecosystems and collect the data that we need to collect. Different organizations can help support science, so from governments to non-government organizations through to the private sector. But then we also need to support changes to our lifestyle to try and change the way we emit carbon and try and reduce our impacts around the planet. And I think, again, there are all sorts of different ways that different sectors of society can help support those changes. So part of, I think, the solution to reducing our impacts on the planet is really going to come from technology, and part of it is going to come from how we choose to live our lives. So there's sort of two ends to that spectrum. So we need support from all different sectors to create the innovation that's going to help us figure out how we can not have this really strong carbon impact on the planet. And then we might need to be living our lives in slightly different ways. So thinking about how we can be having a more sustainable lifestyle.
So the last question would Dr. Isla will give us 3 keywords for the people, not only in Taiwan, maybe for the whole world, for taking actions to tackle the issue of this climate change and this climate warming.
Yeah, so my 3 words are, number 1, to start to learn. Number 2 is to engage, and number 3 is to act. So I'm a scientist, and I believe that it's really important that we gain more knowledge about how the world works, and particularly with the climate change issue. So my goal as a scientist is to figure out how the Arctic is responding as the climate warms. And as individual citizens around the planet, I think it's all of our responsibilities to learn about those impacts that we're all having on the planet, and to learn about how climate change is influencing the people of the Arctic, the systems in the Arctic. We can all learn about that together. And then once we've learned, we need to start engaging with the issues. We need to think, okay, so this is happening and I don't want it to happen. What can I do? And then the final is to really think towards action. So think about small changes that you can make those actions, and then build up So smaller change into larger change, and think how you can collaborate with other people.
Thank you so much, Dr. Isla. And so on behalf of the Taiwan audience, thank you so much.